is it that Selenium works? In a layman words, okay, how does it do? It basically looks inside the HTML. This voice sometimes, okay, let it be consistent. Looks inside the HTML code for, oops, for identifications for the object. Okay. Now, team, before I talk about element identification from a web and objects perspective, I want to focus on what is object-oriented programming system, OOPS. Okay. To talk about OOPS, we have to understand what are objects and classes, team. All right. Let me use a paint and explain this concept in about 5 minutes. So it fits into how does Selenium look at them as objects. Okay. Then your target or your location identifier and your command or the action that you perform will both become easy for you to understand. This is the most important aspect, team. Okay, where am I? Let's see. Let's take this. Okay, that's good. And then what are we talking about? Let us talk about automobiles, team. A simple car. Okay. When I say there is a car, what do I mean? A car for all of us symbolizes something specific. That yes, it has got certain characteristics. Okay. Now, when we talk about a car, what are the characteristics that we talk about? One, it has usually 4 wheels. Okay. It is usually 4 doors. Okay. It's got an engine. It's got all these components to it. That car can be split into this built up of the small each component coming into it. Okay. Now, yes, there is the color of it, there is the make of it, there is the model of it, all these things. Now, what is it that I can do with a car? Okay, great, it's got all these features. I can drive a car, I can travel with it, I could go forward, I could go left, right, center, whatever park. So these are the different activities that I can perform with a car, right, team? So there are certain things that I can use to describe what it is, okay? And then there are certain things that I can do to act something, do something with it, all right? Now, every object that you see in our real life is kind of bound on these two things. When we talk about a car, it is a specific class of an object, we say. When we say class, what do I mean? A class is nothing but grouping certain items together into that they all make sense. Let's take some examples. Let's go to parking lot. You'll see a class of cars, all cars, right? Let's talk about this audience right now who's attending this training. We have students. All of you are attending AICT training. That is what you are part of that class. So you are able to classify people or groups into certain things. Whatever that basic classification that comes up as to what it is your class team. When I say a car, it is any car. But when it becomes my car, like, it is my car now. How is it my car? I physically have that object in my possession and it has the same descriptions. Instead of yeah, it still has 4 wheels. I am not going to expand on that. Maybe it is a 2-door. It's like a coupe. My engine is a sports model. My color is different. My make, my license plate, my VIN number. That's become my car. It is a specific one. So I am focusing that, okay, you know what? This is my car. Now I've customized this. From a class, when you create an instance, we say, okay, an instance of it, it becomes an object, one object team. Okay. Now, what do these objects have? Objects have 2 things, team. They have, come on, they have properties that are used to either describe them. Like what? My car is red, my car is yellow, my car is a Porsche, my car is this, that. You can describe. In a parking lot with hundreds of cars, if there are only 3 red cars, then it is easy to identify which is the one. But if I have a white color Ford, let us say, then I have a problem. So you can describe your vehicle. For example, I can describe that, yeah, your height, average height, build, and so on. How do you identify becomes the other properties team. Okay. So for any object, you can describe an object, but you have to identify it, sometimes uniquely, most of the times uniquely. If I can't go and identify my car in a parking lot with 100 cars, open air, just one parking lot, not even multi-level, how will I get into my car? That is for a human. Now just imagine for a tool, it will become even more critical. All right. Now, what is it that I could do with my car? The same proper, the same methods. These are called methods now, team. Okay. The same methods that every car of this class, okay, of this class called car can do, it gets into it. So it inherits those properties, it inherits those methods, and it can behave accordingly. So then there can be another car, another instance, and that, oopsie, don't give up on me now again. And that can become, your car. All right. And it has certain things that could be different. Everything could be the same, exactly the same. But then I have license plate or VIN number to finally identify, getting more into criminal investigation stories of whose vehicle is this, has it been tampered with, this kind of details of how we can identify classes and objects. Let me summarize this once again in a new diagram. Let's take that a little thicker, and I'm sorry, I'm little playing around with color. Okay. So always remember, team, we talk about a class. Okay, a class kind of, can it be darker? This seems to be, okay, this is good. A class is primarily your parent, or what you derive everything out of. Okay, out of this class, you get an object. Each object, let's call this as O1, has its own properties that can be used to either describe them or identify it. Okay, only if you identify an object you can access it. If you give your cell phone, like smartphones are always look the same, if it's all the same thing, how do you do it? Maybe your picture is different, sim card number, phone numbers are different, what else, UDID numbers, right? So many other things, IMEI numbers, that can be different. Depending on the class and the objects, you have your properties to describe or identify, and you have methods to work on. Now, the same thing Selenium says for every object in the web browser. Okay, every object in the web browser, I don't think it's the right order, but can be identified using certain things, and all that is there in the HTML code. I'm assuming you've all gone through the HTML videos that I've been pointing to, and we also did a recorded playback. Now let's look at how does Selenium look at it. Okay, this concept of oops, team, do not forget objects and classes. Oops. Okay, now I can't write notes for this. This is where I'm expecting that maybe team can assist in enhancing these notes. Let's talk about how Selenium looks at it. Where is my IDE? Is here. And let's see if the application opens up with a record. I have an existing project. I hope it is there. Let us see. No, it's not there. We can do it again. Record a new test. No, sorry. Why does it close? I just want to, I don't want to record a new test. I don't want to open. I want to create a new test. Okay, I'll open an existing project. No, it's not giving me the option. So what was it? A underscore law AnyAUT test one. Okay. HTTPS // AnyAUT.com dot recording. Okay, and stop recording. More than enough for us, right? And test name a underscore log underscore tc004, right, team? And let's save this project. Nope. Up. Yep. Here. Save. So I'll keep saving it that way then. Now what do we do, team? First command is to open. We have to go to the, where is my play first? Hello. Where is my URL? It didn't get the URL. Crazy. .anyaught.com. Okay, I need to make progress. Open, and this second command was to click. And what we did, I said select target in page, and I did this, and it got me a certain thing. Let us accept this as is, team, for this step. Okay, let us look at the next step now. The next step 3 is I need to type something into the username. That is what I need to be doing. So how do we type something into the username? For this, I need to identify this field, team. Let me open a private browser. Or we can go straight to AnyAUT.orange also and look at it. All right. I have two fields, type, and this I want to do it as for username, and then the next type. Ah, okay. So it says, oh, whatever I'm writing as a description is coming. No, I won't. I want to see commands as they are. The other type is for the password, and then we have to, what do we have to do? Click. Our steps create correct, team. And finally, I have to verify text here. Verify error message. Now, for username, let me also put value, which is easy, right? Non-existing at blah, 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 .com. And then the next type, see, no record. I'm just doing everything. I'm filling everything except for this target right now, team. The next type is, yeah, what will we type? Wrong password. As a value itself, okay, as is. All right. Now let's look at this specific username field. The first thing that you and I need to do is to look at the HTML code. Right click and go to view page source. Right click anywhere and go to view page source. Will give us the entire HTML code, which is laborious to go through. So what we do is called inspect element. All right. So we spoke about that. Let's talk about inspect element. And this is the core ability that will differentiate your skill, team. Right click on the element that you want, not on username, not here, not somewhere, not here, exactly where you'll type, and say inspect. In your Chrome browser or Firefox or any browser, this inspect is there. So you don't really need a fire path or a firebug and additional tools to it. Let's try to survive with what is there as is. Now, Anthony, you'll have to hold back with sending me your files because we have so many things to do here. This specific HTML code is related to this field. What does it mean? Anything that the web developer does is noted and displayed in this manner. If I go and see there's an enter email ID and I change this, you will see that getting reflected here. Whenever we work with HTML files or web files, what happens, team? There is a cloud, right? What is a cloud? Nothing but a simple database of things hosted on a server that is digitally connected, right? So this files of AnyAUT are all put in this cloud. Now there is a user one who has to view this. So what they do when they ping this through www, the version of that file gets downloaded onto your machine and you're kind of rendering that into your browser. Okay. Now, if anything happens here, it's all on your local machine. So you wouldn't see this change reflected because only a web developer kind of sits through this and goes say that, okay, I want to change things. Now, for this specific thing, it is just to say that whatever you do here kind of reflects back onto this. All right, temporarily on your local machine. Now, this is the HTML code for this entire element team, and you need to take a look at that. How do we do that? Right click on it, and you can say copy outer HTML. All right, and take a notepad. There's nothing better than a simple notepad with a large font. All right, this will give us the ability to understand how we look at the HTML things. All right, now comes the portion of, we've done this, so let's keep this to the side and let's take a look. Any HTML element, okay, any HTML element, what does it do, the team? It starts with a less than and ends with greater than, right? This is basically or like this. These basically become your HTML building blocks. All right, each of these represent an element. Sometimes a larger group can also represent one element. I can look at this entire form as an element if I right click here. So as I move my mouse over different elements in the code, you're able to see where in the application are these loaded. If I want to see where my logo is in the code, I right click and say inspect, and it'll take me to the image source and where the logo is. All right, now let us break this down to understand. There are three portions to it. Start HTML tag, then there is an end HTML tag, and there is content in between. Now your start HTML tag is first word that comes after your less than symbol. In our case, what is the first word that comes, team? That is input. Okay, that becomes your input. So in this case, your HTML tag is basically input team. Now, the close of tag is, so where is it? Right click, inspect, out here. There's nothing to expand further. Okay, is at the end with a greater than symbol. Now we have these three sections to talk about team. Now there comes the content. So let us break this down. This becomes my so this is my original, right? So I'll copy this now. I'm going to put this here and break it down. I'm seeing anything similar pattern things and doing this. Now this is my start or HTML tag. Here's my main content. This is the end of it. Using whatever is inside all this, I should be able to identify it. That is one way. The other way is to be able to identify that I can't identify you, but I know you'll be after username. And that is the other way to identify. But let's look at the most important way, team. How do we identify them? The thing that this content gets built about are called attributes. Okay, elements have attributes to define or describe or identify them, team. Exactly like what we were looking at in our objects. So these properties that we're looking at here. So if I have a car, let us say I would have it something like this. Miles equals 100 and end of my car. It can be like this sometimes, or it could just be an end. This becomes my main object and this becomes a property team. So your HTML tag primarily represents the main object. All right. Now, in this, each of these on the left side of the equal to is called the attribute name. Name equals attribute value. That is it. And these combinations is what basically describes what is there in this, how does it look, where will this data go once you put it. All that information is stored in that HTML code team. Now, for us to be able to identify this is by using the methods now. What the inspect element? Identify using. The first and foremost thing is called ID or name attributes. What does it mean, team? In your HTML tag, if anywhere you have a portion where you see ID or name as an attribute, it is specifically given to access that field or that element. And that can be used as is to identify. What does it mean? If I say ID equals username, that is enough. So if there's an ID and there's something like that, that should be sufficient. How do I know? So my step out here, if I say ID equals, what is the value? Let me try username with double quotes first, okay? And get this application on the side. Whatever I wrote here, let us see if it's identifying this. Is it blinking? And say find target in page. It could not find. I'm going to delete this quotes team. I'll try once again. Now did it find it? Yes. So for the other time it did not find. Where is the log? Typically it used to actually note a log for any time it didn't find. So I just put ID equals username. What do I mean by doing this? If you find an ID or name attribute that is unique, then take and test using cell/cat IDE. All right, that's all we need to do. Now, once you have it, you can then access and put this information. Let's try the same thing for the next one. I'm saying ID or name. How about the next field? Let me close this. Where is the next field? Yeah, right click, same method, inspect. I'm going to copy this entire thing. Either you can do it with the mouse, which is more like drag and drop, but right click on it to copy outer HTML. Let's take that code, put it into our notepad where we're working, and now try and understand this. Here I have ID and there's name also. Which is better? Either is fine, team, whatever works. Check it out. If you have ID or name, go for them. Don't think more. And if it works, okay, then we look at the other things now. Where are we? Okay, there you go. ID equals login underscore password without quotes. I'm giving team. This is not the one. This is the one. And say find targeting page. Oh, it's looking at it here. See how they're interacting, which browser, which one. It's able to find it. Now, let me close all my browsers so I'm not confused. I have one browser open and let us run this testing. The main thing that we did, now click, we didn't perform click, sorry. We'll perform the click once we see it. Where do we click? Okay. So, if I'm using, where am I? I'll take another 5-10 minutes team and I think we should be able to wind up. What is it that I needed to do? Okay, let's run this at a decent speed, not too fast. We can see what's happening. So preparing, it's launched a browser, it's gone there. It should be able to click. So the first one, CSS a.login button, remember team? What, it's not recognizing it in the new one? See, it's open into a different frame. Anyone else face this issue? It should shouldn't matter. It will still be able to recognize. Why did it stop? Oh, did I? Pause. Stop. No. Oh, there you go. It took a long time. 30 seconds. It didn't find it. How did yours work? Let me see if I can open the project shared by. Is this the one? I'm thinking so. By Anthony. Oh, wow. A lot of tests. Amazing. Should we say click before type? No, just that it's opening a new one. But let me see. You have test case 4. Set window side. Select window. There you go. Did you write this? I wanted to be a little bit more simpler. No, it came up during, oh, maybe record and run. It came up maybe. And so that is one thing, team. I think this command is essential. If I'm able to do this, then because say like I told you, it is switching, but I don't want to confuse you with what that is. Let me see if this works. I'll just take this command. Let's run this test. I'm running only one test case. Good job of putting things together. Where is it doing it? Ah, it's doing it here. And verified text kind of failed. It's what it says, but let's look at actual valid value is this and did not match this. Why is the difference? Can anyone tell me why did it fail? It's a good way to look at it. Why did this fail? Oops, 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 oops. Do you see this extra space? That could be a culprit. So my test data could be culprit. So I could go in here and delete these spaces. There are no spaces either here. So this may work again. I can run this much faster now because I just want to see the result. Oh, it still did not match. What? Actual value did not match. Something is wrong with what we got, but that's more of a space. We can see it humanly that it's fine. So let's take this select window winsert underscore 1. This should be coming from some recognition of it, which I'm not worried as of now. Let's at least get it into our Selenium and team. I need to be okay. Where are we? Where's our project? Where are the other tests? Executing. Okay, all tests are here. Nice. Executing. Test suites. Nothing. Everything's in default suite. Open ours right now. Wow, it didn't save. Don't tell me. Huh? It didn't save? No, that's not fair. Come on. Let's do the same as record and see what happens, team. At least we wrote, so till there we can do it quickly. What was the website? AnyAUT.com. Start recording. Go. Stop. Delete. Come on. No. New test. (004_2). All right. I'm going to click record. Good. Start recording. Thank you. Can I drag you to the right, please? Okay. And click on login. All right. So there you go. Blah, 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 blah. Blah, 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 blah. Sign in. So I got all the ones which are there. This is the earlier. Why does it recognize what we have in there as is? Mouse down. I don't think I need these. Delete, delete. So type username, password. No, I don't need to click this also. Delete this. And all I need out here is a step to verify there is a text. And I will find that element. Select target in page. I can do it this way. And it gets me saying that the ID is username. If I right clicked, I went to inspect and I look at this here, NSC ID username hyphen error. I would put it first here and say find target in page. After we do that, what is the error message that I'm checking? Whatever I got here. The way I take this error message, team, inspect here and double click this value and copy as is. Spaces, everything should come. And what? It's still recording. Man, stop. Okay, okay, okay. Verify text, and the text verifies this. Now let's try and run this. Save project. Nothing here. No. I think almost everything very similar to what we were writing. Let's see if this runs, and then we're going to take this forward. All right, great. So that's how it's working, team. A simple test. It can take you 5 minutes to write one and so on. The most important thing is the fact that how you're organizing your steps one after the other. We have to start focusing on writing. When we come back tomorrow, team, we will talk about all the different ways of identifying. Next comes your linked text and or partial linked text. All right. Sometimes we will identify just by using the CSS or class name. And then there is CSS or cascading style sheet, depending on what properties are there. And then this XPath. And this is how we do it, like HP, QTP, descriptive programming, very similar to that. And understanding these various ways of identifying becomes very critical, team. I think there's a couple more that will come up. We'll look at it. But we will spend a lot of time in writing XPath. So the same thing that we very easily got with, hey, ID is this, name is this, and maybe I can go and find it. But a lot of times you will have to write an XPath. And an XPath simply changes the whole thing in a format and says that I expect you to put details in this format and I would take it. And this becomes an XPath. So what this gives is a programming ability where I could don't have to hard code a lot of these things and put it somewhere else. We'll come to XPath in tomorrow's session, team. So one more session on element identification, writing our tests. Tomorrow we can also be able to complete Catalan a little bit because it will be very similar. Then we'll go into AnyAUT, team. How do we work? How do we create the same tests in AnyAUT? And how do we maintain and run them, execute them? All right. There was one question by one of the members earlier. I completely forgot answering that. Karthik, when is the good time to ask my doubts regarding Eclipse? And Jyotsna left as well. Sorry about that. So for any of the current members, team, Eclipse, you have to wait for next week when we start the Selenium training. Till then, we're not touching Eclipse. But if you're a JPAC member or someone who is technically issue, then we'll figure out one of the days this week. Okay. All right, everyone. I'll see you tomorrow then, and we'll go through the remaining topics at length. I'll talk about these questions tomorrow, please. All right. All right. Hi, Jyotsna. I think you're back. So, Jyotsna, you had a question, right? Why? I don't know if you reached me offline. Do you want to show, or can we do this tomorrow? Okay. If you are you okay to show your screen right now? I I do have time. Did you contact me offline, please, and try and reach me as well? Do you have my phone number? Yes. Then you call. Can you call me back on my phone after about half an hour? I'll finish up a quick meeting. All right. Sorry, I think I missed your call over the weekend. Thanks, everyone. Take care then. Talk to you later. See you tomorrow. Bye, all.